Hi, I'm John Megas, and I'm going to talk through my lesson plan here. I'm obviously not in a classroom. I'm in the library, and you can probably hear the piano room right next door to me, so you get a little atmospheric music. So I'm just going to walk through. I usually have students. I'm just going to walk through my lesson plan, which is kind of a life skills lesson. And what I had chosen was to do to teach about doing a job interview, like a successful job interview, because I think a lot of students, a lot of younger people, don't really get this skill. And I know when I was younger, I didn't have this skill at all. I said some weird things. But I'm imagining my primary student to be, of course, high school age, with autism, DCD. I'm basing this on a real student I've known, probably moderate disability, and someone who wants to work or has discussed working after school. The job that I selected was, again, based on the student, was to work in a grocery store, and he specifically wanted to work in a co-op. Um, so I would start this out by actually talking about the the job. Now, first of all, there's going to be a little theatrics here. So they'd walk in. I'd be wearing, I'd be managing hiring managers. I'd be wearing a tie and have, look a little more cleaned up than I do right now. Have two chairs, a desk, so you can do like a little role playing. But the first thing when they'd come in, I'd have on my little smart board would be the goals for the day, what you want to learn, the learning objectives. So they would be to understand the components of a job interview, what you're walking into, what to expect, understand proper answers to common questions, or decent, reasonably good answers, ways to answer, and then also learning body language. That's three: eye contact, keeping still, paying attention, focusing, not looking around. So that would be the start. So basically, this would be kind of a role playing exercise, which I'll here do by myself. Um, no, so anyways, they'd come up. The first thing I do is have them greet me as the hiring manager. So they'd come up, put my hand up, shake my hand. How do you initiate that conversation? Look them in the eye, shake their hand, let go at an appropriate time, come sit down, and then have one student at a time come up. We start with one student. He comes up, he does it. As a group, we critique. What do you think about that? What parts of that are good? What parts would you change? And then students could give their input into it, and we could come up with some kind of guidelines that would be a good way of doing an introduction. Then I would have, after we get through that, I'd have each student who wants to come up and do it. If they wanted to wait till the end, if they're shy, they could wait to the end and do it with me. And then we would talk about job interview questions. And with those questions, there's probably some vocabulary that would be, they maybe don't understand the word or understand the word in this context. And so they'd come up, I'd have them sit down. We'd kind of sit in the way you'd often will with an interview, maybe probably across from each other or side by side, and keep eye contact, pay attention, and then go through a couple of questions, or a couple that are probably common to an interview like this. And here's one that I think some people can get wrong. Is not get wrong, but answer unusually is, why do you want to work here? Now, if you answer honestly, it might be something like, I need the money, but that's not really the best answer. So again, that could be discussed. What might be a good answer to show that you have interest in what you're doing and you have enthusiasm for it? Another question might be, what are your strengths? And that's a good one we could sit and go through and talk about what our strengths are, each one of us. And I could, whoever's up front, say with them, have the group brainstorm it, come up with different ideas, change the student, and then what is your strength? And they can say, what is your strength? If there's three students, that doesn't take very long. Another one, tell me about your past work experience. Now, people know the word experience, but maybe not in this setting exactly what we're actually looking for. So going through basic questions, just kind of mock interviewing it, so that when you walk into an interview, you're not just like getting ambushed. If you don't know what an interview is, you don't know what's going to happen next. Just kind of give you a good idea, and a good idea with like reviewing things like body language, what's appropriate. And then I think we'd end it with a how do you leave an interview? How do you know what your cue is to get up and go? And I've known plenty of people who don't know the right cue on this. Things like when the interviewer says, "Oh, we'll give you a call," or stands up. These are cues that you should probably stand up as well. Gracefully put out your hand, shake their hand, thank them for it, and then there's interview. So if you go through each student and practice this, I think that this would be a very valuable piece of information for many students.